We are the hub for news, results, and CEO interviews focusing the junior commodities sector. We provide market analysis and perspective that will help position you for solid returns.
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome, Austin. Here we are, the Market Mindset end of the year 2022, where we talk about major economic news, events in the stock market, what we're interested in, this kind of shift in energy and development of new technologies. It's been a hell of a year. And we're going to do a quick little wrap up, give a shout out to some of the companies, give an update on some, and then hint and talk a little bit about 2023, as this is kind of our New Year's show, end of the year kind of wrap up. Austin, how you feeling? How you doing? What's going on?
Good. It's been a great time with family and friends over Christmas, which is always awesome, getting to see everyone. And yeah, looking forward to kind of wrapping up the year. We had our fun our meme wrap up to the year right before Christmas. So now this is our little bit more serious, a little bit more, kind of big picture, but excited to dive into it with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think anyone needs to be told that it's been a very challenging year. A lot of things we've talked about over the past years and years, they're all happening. And one of the biggest challenges, and I always equate this, and I think there's a direct correlation, is when you have the level of misinformation that's out there, and let's just say both sides. If you can't trust the media, if you have like what we have with Twitter, if you haven't looked into what's been going on there, I encourage you to do so. Most people are kind of warming up to the idea that most mainstream news isn't there to benefit you. It's just a voice for a political ideology. And when you have that, and when you have also the level of absurdity that's being pushed out there, not only politically, but socially, how could you possibly have an efficient and effective capital markets? I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It doesn't set a very strong foundation to have a thriving economy or any sort of economic conditions built on top of.
And the lockdowns that we've kind of got out of, they accentuated problems that have some of them are being solved, some of them are being worked on. But I mean, for anyone to think that we're out of the clear is absurd. And once again, part of media, it's mass media. And I've said it before, it's mass media for a reason. If you believe it, like if you believe your CBC or your CNBC, that's your info for the masses. That's the big message for the masses. Now you probably don't want to think of yourself as part of the masses, but if you're believing, like without a shadow of a doubt, the narratives, you'll be very disconcerting to see, like Elon Musk said, pretty much almost all the conspiracies that were out there the last couple of years have come to be true. And that word conspiracy now is just like every other term an extreme leftist will use to discredit someone to not have an argument. And once again, that shows a crumbling of society, of a civilization, of everything. And not to get too dark or morbid about it, that's reflected in the market and everyone feeling chaotic, and even the people who don't want to admit it, they know something's happening. So how could it not be reflected in the market? We do have and we try to take away some of the politics out of this. There's inflation. It isn't all because of Biden. We had a problem back in 2008 that nobody cleared up. And, we're very fair on placing blame on people. And I'm more than happy to say most governments out there and most of the leaders haven't had our best interest in mind for quite some time. So let's just kind of so people don't get too defensive on everything. But I guess in short, 2023 is going to be no different. But let's kind of look over a couple of the main themes. And I think one of the best things to do is just pull up, say, the TSX 30, the top winners, because that's going to kind of give us a framework.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I mean, the first thing I kind of thought when I looked through this list initially, so I went, okay, two really good things here. Number one, I see a lot of energy and I see a lot of resource-based companies in here. And also, I see a lot of Canada, a lot of Alberta, a lot of BC, Quebec, Ontario, all on the list as well. So that's pretty encouraging.
Yes. I mean, this this is what we've kind of talked about. Energy. I mean, that's going to be the focus for the year ahead as well. Some of these gains are incredible. Like we've had Aura Minerals on the show, which is great. We haven't had Capstone Copper, so I'll have to reach out to them. But of course, Lithium Americas is a big lithium company, and they've showed incredible promise over years. Advantage Energy is a friend of mine I used to row with, and from Calgary. Mike Belinky is the CEO over there. Great energy company, and they're sequestering carbon as well, so they're doing great things. And then you have one too that you know on here.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine from high school. His dad is involved fairly high up in Tourmaline Oil, so I'm going to be reaching out to them and finding out what was behind that. Plus 366. That's a great year for them. So I'm going to get some more info from them on what exactly has been driving that. I think we can kind of, assume that there's some of the major factors have obviously been the energy crisis in Europe and the increase in oil prices, but dive into that a little bit and see exactly what's going on. But I do find it very encouraging, even as you continue to go down the list, MEG Energy Corp, Pado Exploration, Athabasca Oil Corp. Like there is a lot of energy companies doing very, very well this past year.
And if you are a fundamental investor, if you look at the cash flow that some of these companies, and we wouldn't have to spend too much effort to pull up some of these ones to see either earnings per share or whatnot. They're unloved because people from the WFUN, the globalist kind of framework, are saying we're not going to fund any of these energy companies. And I get it. If you are on that side of things and you think that they're the worst thing on the planet, you have to realistically look at this and know there's a transition period. We're never not going to use these, for one. So you have to kind of get your head wrapped around that notion. We use oil in so many other products that you can't not use them. So there's a level of dislocation with people when they look at these. Now, does it mean we scale back? Sure. Okay. But if you're an actual serious investor and you want fundamentally strong companies, a lot of these energy ones are producing cash flow at rates that are incredible. Now, what they're trying to do as well, though, is to tax them so that stop them from buying back their own stock because they're not able to reinvest in new projects. And if you want, once again, the people on one side will say, well, that's great because they're trying to save the planet. But if you also look at it from a realistic point of view, go, wait a second. So you're purposely going into markets to do damage, and you're an NGO, you're a big global body, or you're an actual government. That's disconcerting when people see that.
Yeah, it is for sure. It doesn't instill confidence in the market and you don't have to be a financial wizard to look at that and to have alarm bells ringing in your head either. I think most people can kind of take that and say, okay, this is causing instability in the market. And that's, something that it's a general theme that we've talked about over the last year or so, but it's important to remember and keep in the forefront of your mind. Yeah.
And we'll just mention a couple that in our own portfolio, because us, of course, we're down for the year. There's no if or ands or buts about it, but we have avoided quite a bit of the real strain and real problems. Because most people can go back, whether you read our blogs or reports or any videos. I've been very vocal about my displeasure and distaste for FANG, and that there was going to be a day of reckoning, and it certainly has come.
It definitely has. It came down like a hammer this year. And it feels like a snap back to reality in a way almost. But that it not surprising if you kind of followed a lot of the themes that we talk about, but certainly what's the word I'm looking at? Certainly did a lot of damage to a lot of people's portfolios over the course of the year.
And I don't take pleasure in your average retail investor who's just trying to make some money and whatnot, but once again, if you're politically motivated and you're one of these advocates of you hate free speech, you don't like any of these ideas, these are the companies for you. That's why I kind of like that these big institutions got hammered, because they're trying to enforce an ideology through the markets, and they're not. You can read Goldman Sachs, they're very vocal about it. WF, even in their memos for the year, they're very vocal about what they want to do and how they're going to do it. If they can't do it by persuasion, they'll do it by capital structures and by the markets. They'll do it in any way they can. Now, for the other side of that conversation, we're seeing a massive wake up of people realizing what's happening. And there's a fight. And I think people feel that on an emotional level. There's a major fight happening. It's not going away anytime soon. And it'll resolve itself, however it's going to resolve itself over the next couple of years.
Yeah, it is for sure. And here's an interesting question I've got for you before we completely go away from the FANG stock side of things, just because this is an interesting bit of data that this CNBC article I was looking at this morning has in it. It says, which former high flyer would you consider buying in 2023? It lists Amazon, Alphabet, so that's obviously Google, Tesla, Netflix, and Meta. I'd be curious, what would your pick out of those 5 be if you had to pick one? Do you think we'll have a bounce back year in 2023?
Okay, so give me. I don't have the article up right now.
Yeah.
So if you can give me the list again.
Yeah, no problem. It's Amazon, Alphabet, Tesla, Netflix, and Meta were the 5.
Oh God. You know what? I dislike a lot of these companies like vehemently.
Yeah.
But Tesla, I think now it's a question of they've all fallen quite a bit. I think Tesla is in a bit of trouble, to be perfectly honest. I'll just start with that one. I think not because Elon Musk is a character. I think a lot of people have lost confidence in his management, in his business prowess, and I think that's 100% a fair criticism.
Absolutely.
I think as business sense, buying Twitter, not smart. It's not worth that.
No.
It was not worth. I mean, Goldman Sachs was on the other side of that deal, and let me just say they're very pleased with the outcome of selling of the fees they got for getting $44 billion for it.
There were some nice Christmas bonuses at Goldman Sachs this year for sure.
They were on the winning end of that. So as a business, not very good. Tesla as a business, they do very cool technology things. It's great. But if you're just on the outside and you're looking at Volvo, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, all of these companies, VW, they are all charging forward at a rapid pace, and they're catching up. And the stage of that market is going to shift. So how much more can you squeeze out of a Tesla? I don't know. He sold a lot as well. So I kind of view it in my own kind of way. I think what he did for Twitter was amazing because he has shown the world what we all kind of knew, that there was being collusion between mainstream media, between government, between the shadowy people behind to censor, remove people from social media, to stop posts about said shutdown type of policies, whether they were at MIT or Harvard or whoever, it didn't matter. They would shut them down. So he's revealed to people that this is happening. It's not a conspiracy and dangerous for him. Yeah. But my kind of tweet, and I don't tweet very often, to him was, do YouTube next. Because I think he's willing to lose the money, because remember, if you've got billions, like, it's just a number that doesn't make any sense. His lifestyle is not going to change if he loses billions. It doesn't matter. It's about power. So I think he was willing to lose a lot of money for power because he strongly believes in free speech and kind of getting the U.S. and the West back on track, which I'm all for, whether it costs him or not. But as far as a business, not very good. Not very good.
Yeah.
So sorry, that's a really roundabout one, but I had a strong opinion on it and I want to kind of get it out.
I figured you would. Yeah.
So I honestly think, the one that I have the least dislike for is probably Amazon. And I think they probably have the biggest chance. People will buy again, although next year is going to be a bit tighter. Amazon isn't even about selling stuff online. That's not really their thing. I think, in fact, they still lose money on that core business. It's their data storage. It's all their data play. It's all that kind of stuff. And I think moving forward, as they are re-cementing what the future is going to look like, the amount of technology and work they do at Amazon and even at Google, and I don't like, they're less, they're pretty controlling as well. I think Amazon's the one.
Yeah, I would be in that kind of vein of thinking as well. 37% of the poll respondents would agree with us on that.
Okay. Okay.
I'll go, because you picked Amazon. I'll go with the other one that 37% of people picked, which is Alphabet or Google. I think they made some decent moves over the last year, positioned themselves
Fair enough.
right. But I mean, there's no chance. I'm going to pick Meta. I think Meta is going to have a difficult year. Netflix is just struggling massively. And like you said with Tesla, there's a lot of cool stuff going on there, but I think the vision and the leadership is a little bit distracted. And I think the best thing for Tesla would probably be Elon finding someone who can take over as CEO at Twitter and able
100%.
to focus his attention back towards Tesla. And until that happens, I don't have a ton of confidence that they're going to be able to recover from what they've lost this year, essentially.
100%. I mean, and I think the alarm is being sounded, and people are now. He never listens to people anyway, so there's that. Yeah. And he's very controversial, and he says lots of terrible things. And there's the people that absolutely adore him, people that absolutely hate him. And we're very much neutral because, I'm very clear that he's done some really questionable things, not only personally, socially, Dogecoin, whatever it is. So he's no saint. And I think that's the message we see with social media out there nowadays is people get so strongly invested in a human being. And I think that's a very big mistake. They can champion your cause and they can be good for that specific point, but could also be a total degenerate, horrible person. And I'm not saying he is on another frame, or have zero optics on another idea. Just like someone might be the smartest civil engineer, but if you ask them a political opinion, they literally have no idea. Yeah. It's just they're focused. They focus on certain things.
Absolutely.
Now, moving forward, Netflix, they are struggling because I think they said there's about 100 million accounts that are being shared. And of course, listen, I would feel frustrated if you're sharing passwords. To me, I mean, I wouldn't pay for it. I mean, I can't think of anything on Netflix that's worth $8 a month, never mind 10 or 12. It's literally, I'm no fan of it. But most of them, even if I go on to try to look to see what is there available, it is so ideologically driven with zero storyline. There's no interest. It's awful. Yeah. So that is kind of the society we live in. So is there a market for it? Sure. But I think there's also that shift, that turning is happening. And I think unless they start waking up like Disney, to modify their ideology they're pushing, they're going to suffer.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. So let's turn our focus a little bit here. Now, we're not going to give away too much because we've got a newsletter coming out at the end of January here that'll have a lot of our kind of top picks for 2023. But let's recap a couple of the companies from this past year that you're happy with how this year went, or really happy with how they've set themselves up for 2023.
I mean, obviously, everyone thinks I'm going to start with DME, but I'll start with Salt just to be a bit different. So, Salt, we don't work with Salt. So, I mean, that we don't have any vested interest other than, we own a bunch of stock. I believe in it. I think it's a sleeper story. It had a big run up and then a big comeback down. Why that is, I don't know. But maybe some people made some money in that. We're still up, I think 20% for the year on Salt. We haven't sold any. And we look forward to the year ahead. The outlook on milestones, what they've achieved, what they have hasn't changed. There's been no data to say, they can't produce, they can't do that. No, it just still looks good. So we're happy with it. And it's a long-term hold, just like most of our stuff. DME, of course, I think my guess is it's a holiday season. There's not a lot of news. They're not going to be very vocal. I think we're going to hear a lot in the next week or two. They have the plant up. It's been there for a couple of weeks now, being tested. We haven't heard boo. No. I think that's neither good nor bad, but I think this next year, it's going to be a banner year for DME. So I'm very optimistic. I think that it's going to come onto its own. It's done it. It's got its plant. It's going to start producing. Now, people get annoyed because they won't reveal all of their data and all their information. They don't have to. But I think that some of it is going to naturally come out as they start producing, and that will then instill with those numbers and the data, the flow rates and whatnot, more confidence in analysts and bigger firms to start looking and go, okay, they're actually producing. Here's some numbers. Here's some flow rates. Here we can project. And I think if we get that pretty quick, it'll be marching along quite nicely.
Yeah, I think they've set themselves up so strongly, and it feels like we've gone through such this like holding pattern of waiting, but it really feels like now with the plan in kind of focus, it becomes all right. This is a year where things can really get moving on that front.
And I'll just throw out a couple more because we want to get into the year ahead briefly. Goliath. Yeah. Great news. They'll have another 20 drill holes coming out a couple weeks. I don't know. Yeah. But that stock kind of went up again, pulled back again. We're very optimistic this next year. I mean, it's looking quite strong, and we're very happy with it. Versus, fell a bit. We're big into it. We think it's got huge potential. Anything technology now, people aren't too excited about. Poor Kathy Woods, all her tech deals, which I think long term, some of them are going to do very well. People don't want to hear it right now. They're focused on fundamental stuff, just as we are. This Versus, though, is the one I think is solving a lot of supply chain issues, a lot of logistics. That could be a dark horse that people aren't paying enough attention to, and we're excited. And of course, our lithium bank, it's a big drop for us, but we're very optimistic with Alberta, with what they're doing with lithium brine. I mean, this could set Canada up for a lithium play that would be absolutely amazing, not only for the country but for the province of Alberta. We're very hopeful that this next year, that whole sector is going to really catch on, and certainly we're really excited about what Lithium Bank can produce.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big one, and Versus as well. I'll touch on Versus quickly here. The entire AI AR side of technology and where that's moving is going to be a very, very big story in 2023, and I think Versus will be in a position where they can capitalize on that. Absolutely. They'll be set up. They've got this supply deal in place that they're doing. They're testing more of their products. I think that if they can capitalize on that momentum, and I think they have the team in place that can, that's going to become very, very interesting as we move into 2023.
Yeah, and I mean they have Jay Samit, who's the vice chairman of Deloitte. He joined the board. They've brought in Carl Friston. I mean, he's written the most amount of papers on for neuroscience and the brain. He does cognitive kind of reasoning. He's huge in the AI field, it's for him to come on board as well is huge. Never mind the deal they have with Blue Yonder. We've talked about it before. We don't want to go too much into it, but those three catalysts or those three additions are extremely impressive all on their own. And then before we move into, because this is the transition into what we're looking at 23 as well, is Progressive Planet, which has kind of remained flat for us, which is great. It hasn't gone down. It's been wonderful. Is this type of technology company, which is using fertilizer, a full cycle economy. These are things big funds, big money are looking for. We're very excited about Progressive, what they can do in the next year. Being able to sequester carbon into cement is an absolute game changer if you're concerned about carbon. So if that's a big concern for you, cement is the number 2 on the planet for an issue with carbon. So if you can clean that up, all of your plastics, all of your energy in Canada is almost irrelevant compared to that on a global scale. So, and that's what we are more interested in. And, we have a series coming out with John Hikeway from Storm Crow Capital, and he makes the same kind of analysis, is focus on the big, huge, the elephant in the room. Who are the worst emitters? Where are the worst problems? If you can chip away at those at 10%, that is enormous compared to saying Canada, which is barely out there for carbon emissions. We're going to really slam you with all of this regulation. It doesn't make any sense. It barely moves the needle on a global scale. So watch out for that series that's coming out because it's an eye opener for a lot of people. But any of these companies that are focused on these solutions, and believe me, there's lots of smart ones, lots of great ones. Desert Mountain is one of them. You know, they're going to have a solar plant. You know, that's what the goal is. They're trying to be as green as possible. And it's not because they're just, doing it politically. They believe they want to do things the right way. And it comes across progressive. Yeah. They're solving a problem on a scale that's incredible. And there's a couple other companies that are making some news in Europe that are kind of doing the same thing, but in a different approach. So this is kind of where we see that money managers are hopeful for 2023. Headline is overall, I think the markets are going to be sideways at best. There's going to be a lot of pain still for a lot of different things, but there are going to be some big winners out there. And we believe we've got some of them. I think the energy sector is going to be still a key framework. Although fertilizer prices are going to remain stable, we think, from what I hear, and I'll have a better grasp on that about 10 days from now. I'll be down in Kansas on January 3rd, 4th, and 5th for FarmCon, which is an agritech summit. So we're going to get some real good highlights on fertilizer, what's happening in that space, because there is a food crisis, whether it's not reported very much, but it is serious. And there's lots of issues around land, farm use, whatnot. And we want to get caught up to speed on that. And that kind of transitions into this use of phosphate. And we've had Arion phosphate on, and the use of high grade phosphate is incredible for fertilizer, but it's that region has that high grade phosphate that's so incredible that it can be used for the lithium iron, or LIFE type of batteries, which, if you're interested, that removes the cobalt problem that people like to talk about. So we have, first phosphate, which is coming out in a couple weeks, a next door neighbor to Arion, that we're very excited about. So a lot of these are stories that are progressing. They're ongoing. They're slow, but I think all the headlines that we've touched on in the past year between the Department of Justice, you even see, Justin coming out saying, I'm not giving money away to any other countries anymore. I'm going to focus on infrastructure the year ahead. Yeah. Smart politically, but if he has any common sense and he starts doing that, that's a play. And if they start putting their money towards, you see a lot of people sniffing around putting gigafactories into Canada. You saw Germany looking at Canada. The US is looking at Canada. If we set ourselves up, Canada, the mining sector specifically, all those critical metals and materials, energy, the transition over the next 10 years could make Canada a serious player in this space. So do we have it in provable reserves? No, but if we mobilize and we start mining more, we start venturing forward, we start discovering more, and really, flexing, Canada as a whole could come out in the next 10 years being so far ahead.
So far ahead. And that's, I'll tie that into what I was going to wrap up with, was my bold prediction for 2023, which isn't really even that bold, but this is my prediction. If for anyone who wants this list, reach out to us, we can send it over to you, but it's the TSX 30 2022 winners. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. My bold prediction is that the 30 companies that are on this list next year, the industries that they are focused in are going to mirror the ones in this year's list. I think it's going to be very, very similar industries that have success next year because of these themes that we're talking about, because of the way that the investment is kind of flowing. And another thing that you kind of touched on before, you mentioned these companies that have this focus on, helping the environment and meeting a lot of these targets and solutions. It's going to be easier for them to get government support and government grants as well. It's going to be a lot
big
easier.
Money. And big banks.
And we're talking about big money that they have access to. So I think those two things kind of combining together will cause that and things to kind of flow in that direction.
Perfect. Love it. All right. And I'll just throw it out there. We're going to have our report out for you for people to get. It's free. Going onto our website. It'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. And also, we're just playing around with this idea, and we're going to start it fairly soon because we're coming into 2023, is we'll have a top pick for subscribers, and it'll be some sort of monetary giveaway. We'll figure out the dollar amount very quickly here soon, but we want to get people really engaged that are subscribers with us. If they give their top 3 for 2023 moving forward. Yeah, we're gonna put some rules together pretty quick for anyone who subscribes. And it's not a paid subscriber. For any like free subscriber to our website, they can email us or send us in our chat that their top picks, and then we'll figure out who the winner for the year ahead is going to be. But we'll come out with those rules pretty soon. We'll send it out to everyone.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an exciting one. We'll probably include details with that along with our newsletter when it comes out at the end of the month. But it's going to be exciting. It's something we wanted to kind of to put out there and see if there's some engagement around it. So we're looking forward to doing that. I hope you have an awesome time down in Kansas City. It's going to be a blast. I'm looking forward to hearing about all the new and exciting companies we get to dive into that you've talked to while you're down there. I think it's going to be really exciting. So we're looking forward to that. Make sure you're subscribed to the website, to the YouTube. It helps us a lot. Like this video, watch the videos. It helps us. The YouTube growth has been insane over the last few months. It's been awesome.
Yes.
And so we want to keep that rolling into the new year as well. If we can double our growth, both in the portfolio section and in the YouTube in 2023, we're going to be really happy about the way the year's gone.
Yes. So thank you all. I mean, that's the big shout is thank you all for joining us.
Yeah.
It's huge YouTube growth. And our goal is, we want to get out there and get the message out to people. Yes, we have a vested interest in some of these companies, but it's because we believe sincerely in the sectors we're in, and we want people to get excited about them. If not because they're putting any money towards anything, at least get real excited and educated about what it means to do this transition and to get informed. We like people challenging us. We thank you for your support, and we can't wait to continue growing with you in 2023.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.